Hi, Monica. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm excited today to be having this discussion with you about what makes a good seller agent from a bad seller agent. A lot of people don't realize that every single seller we work with, we go on a job interview. Being able to differentiate good from bad is really pivotal to success.
I would agree. And I am excited to have this discussion with you this morning. It's a really important process to vet the agent that is going to represent you in the sale of your home, because as we all should know, our homes are typically our most valuable asset. So we could be potentially gaining or losing tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars here in the Silicon Valley of California. That is definitely the case in many instances.
I just saw this study from National Association of Realtors in 2021. They found that 75% of agents fail or quit within the first year. And in 2023, they found that 52% of agents who had 2 years or less of experience only made $10,000. That means the average agent is selling maybe one home a year. Is that right?
That is correct. Many people would be shocked to know that most realtors are actually doing this one time per year. Certainly, there are agents that are more in it full time or put more effort into treating their business as a business. Those are the professional agents doing this more regularly. But it is an important criteria to vet for because, as you probably agree, anybody that does something one time per year is probably not the best agent.
Mary, how long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business for 23 years right here in Silicon Valley for the entire time in my career.
Can you start us off by just explaining what is a listing agent? What is a seller agent? Are those the same things? How do you define that? What is a seller agent?
Absolutely. And it's great to start with the basics. A listing agent is the term that we use for a realtor that represents the home seller in the task of the sale of their home. This can sometimes be confused with selling agent. Selling agent is actually a term used for the agent that represents the buyer. So, listing agent for the seller and selling or buyer agent for the realtor that handles the buyer side.
That really helps to clarify it. So thanks.
Absolutely. These 10 questions are a good starting point for anybody hiring a realtor to sell their home. These are 10 fantastic interview questions to flesh out a good agent from a bad agent.
Well, let's start off. The first question: how many homes have you personally sold in the last 12 months?
A bad agent is probably going to respond with, well, I'm super busy. I'm selling property all the time. Maybe they can't give you any real examples, or maybe they're leaning on their brokerage's production as compared to their own personal production, is probably a sign that you're dealing with a bad agent. Versus a good agent is going to respond with real examples and ideally in the marketplace or the neighborhood that you are looking to sell your home. Also, everybody should know that this information is very verifiable online. So, MLS statistics, maybe agent profile sites. There's a lot of different websites nowadays that you as a consumer can visit to verify the information that you're hearing to, by the way, to do a little bit of research on your own.
That's good to know that homeowners can actually verify the information that the agents are telling them. I think that's really critical in building trust in the industry and helping you to differentiate. So, the next question: what's your sales to list price ratio?
Another fantastic question because we deal with list price versus sales price. And the list price should drive a strong sales price. When you're dealing with a bad agent, you may be hearing responses that sound like, well, I don't track my list to sales price ratio, or I sell properties fast, or I sell properties high. A good agent, on the other hand, is going to show you the actual data and the real examples of their track record. And they're probably going to have a very fast response. My track record is 107% list price versus sales price over the history of all the homes that I have listed and sold. List price is an important component in netting any home seller the most for what the market will offer. Choosing a wrong list price or a poor list price will leave money on the table. You can really vet a good, strong listing agent by this question to flesh out the good from the bad.
What I'm hearing you say is that a bad agent is not going to know their data. They're not going to have any strategy. And a good agent like yourself will have a specific pricing strategy regarding where to enter the market for the list price. And they'll have strategies for negotiation to achieve the highest possible price the current market will generate.
That is correct. You've got it.
So let's move on to interview question number 3. This is the third question that all homeowners should ask their potential agent before hiring them to sell their house. What's happening in the local real estate market right now?
And this question I really love because there's so many responses one can get when asked, what is the seller buyer's market? In Silicon Valley, one might think we're in a really strong marketplace. Every house probably sells with 100 offers and they're probably selling for $1 million over list price. But in reality, every marketplace is going to ebb and flow. And a bad agent is not going to show signs that they're on the very cusp of all these market trends and the changes of the marketplace that can happen pretty quickly. It is important to choose a strong listing agent that is on the very forefront of the market changes, the market trends. So a bad agent might say, we're in Silicon Valley. Every home sells fast with multiple offers. That may not be the case. In Silicon Valley, as it is probably the case with many marketplaces, it can be very pockety. So certain neighborhoods are going to trend a little bit stronger, while others are going to lag on the market. You have to insulate for longer days on market, and that's just the way that it goes. An indicator as far as what kind of market we are in is a direct correlation to the amount of inventory available compared to prospective buyers buying property. So if we're seeing a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning equal amount of properties available compared to the rate of those selling, that is a sign that we're in a strong seller's market. If we're not hearing certain ratios spoken of from an agent, it's a good possibility you're dealing with a bad agent versus a strong listing agent will know these ratios, that will give you comps for the exact neighborhood that you are selling your home to show how many homes are available compared to how many prospective buyers are circling. That's going to be a sign that you're dealing with a good agent.
Can you explain that word comps for those that may not understand?
Absolutely. Comps are coined for comparable sales. When we list property, we look in the neighborhood to see other examples of homes that are done and sold. Those are the comps we look for to establish value ranges for the subject property that we sell.
Okay, so they're the homes that recently went under contract with another buyer and they're not available anymore. Is that right?
Ideally, we're dealing with homes that have actually finished the sales. So they're finished, they're closed. Those are the very best comps that we would look to. In certain cases, we can get a read on the market with the pending comps. The pending comps are the homes that have negotiated their sales. They are in escrow, but they haven't finished the sale yet. And oftentimes, good, strong listing agents can gain the intel for how these negotiations resulted. And before the information becomes public, which is another sign that a good agent is doing some intel in advance to keep on the forefront of those market trends.
All right. Interview question number 4. What's your pricing strategy for my home?
This is another fantastic question, and it really fleshes out what the research that goes into the strategy for the home. It's not a one size fits all for listing homes. Every home is unique. Every neighborhood operates and functions a little bit differently. A bad listing agent may say things such as, we'll list it high and see what happens, or we'll list its auction price low and will automatically result in a number of offers. And that unfortunately doesn't always play out the way that one might think. So you really do have to be careful when you deal with an agent and understanding what their listing strategy looks like. A good listing agent will prepare a comparative market analysis. Within this market analysis, they will show you examples of how other homes in your neighborhood are trending and propose a listing strategy based on the other homes performing in the neighborhood. Listing closer to what the homes are selling for is appropriate, and a good agent will give you the data and show you the suggested list price. A bad agent won't have any data to support their strategy. More data is power for sure.
Question number 5. How will you market my home?
The marketing strategy is a very important component for having success in the sale of one's home. There's so many styles for the realtors and the listing agents that you might encounter. A bad agent might say, our strategy is to place the home on the market, do one weekend open house, and then sit back and wait for offers to flow in. MLS is a very open way to expose the property, but you're leaving on the table so much more that would result you in selling for higher, netting higher in the sale. A stronger listing agent or a good listing agent is going to show you their listing launch system, meaning what are we doing to prepare the home for sale? What are we doing to capture the property in the best light? So, believe it or not, photography of the home does still play a huge role in how we attract prospective home buyers. You still have agents that snap photos on their phone and upload those to the MLS, as compared to a good agent is going to hire a professional photographer and hopefully a videographer to fully capture the home in its best light, certain angles of the home, certain times of the day, to really make the home show in its best light. In addition to the outreach to prospective home buyers that this subject property would really work for. That could be done with mail campaigns. That can be done with social media campaigns, exploiting realtors networks to get the word out, not only in our immediate marketplace, but oftentimes worldwide networking. It really does pay to go the extra mile, because that many more eyeballs on the home is going to result in more offers, meaning more for you as the home seller to walk away with.
Sounds like you really spend a lot of time even before putting the home on the MLS or online to prepare and plan and strategize and build that interest. That's something I haven't seen a lot of agents do. It's a lot of extra work, but it sounds like it pays off. It's definitely reflected in your sales performance. Interview question number 6. Can you share an example of a tough negotiation you handled?
Absolutely. Great question. These questions are going to ensure that any home seller is going to know exactly how to choose the right realtor. This is a good question to flesh out the style what a realtor would do when faced with handling the contracts, how to net that much more for their home seller. A bad agent will probably respond to the question, typically, I just accept the offer as it comes. There's no reason to tamper with it. There's no reason to change it. Maybe there's some fear there as well. Those are signs that you might be dealing with a low performing agent or bad agent. A good agent is going to be able to share some real life examples of recent home sales that they've handled in the past several months that will exemplify how they've successfully netted the seller that much more. There are certain ways that an offer can be improved. And it's not always price that we talk about in terms of negotiation. We've got the contingencies to think about. At those, as we know, are a way that a buyer can cancel a transaction, no harm, no foul. And then a home seller would have to start from scratch. Are we insulating our home sellers as agents to help them have a short window of cancellation time as possible? There are ways to improve that. Certainly, price is one of them. So, a good, strong listing agent is going to show you examples. They're going to show you and point to the actual addresses for the homes where you can clearly see here's the list price, here's the sales price, and then the story behind how that negotiation transpired. When you're hearing concrete details and the mechanics, the step by step, good sign that you're dealing with a good professional, top-notch agent.
Okay, great. Let's move on to interview question number 7. How do you handle multiple offers?
Multiple offers is, of course, what every home seller wants to experience in the home sale. Who wouldn't want more than one buyer interested in purchasing their home? Unfortunately, it could be an opportunity gravely lost. If you're dealing with an agent that might get a little uncertain in those situations, there's a lot of effort into handling multiple offers. It's not for everybody. Not every agent loves that situation. It could be a little stressful. The good agents are going to know how to manage that. A bad agent is probably going to encourage the seller to just pick the highest offer and be done. You've got 10 offers here. Here's one of them. Why mess around? Just take the top offer. However, a good agent will share with you how they can help you compare each offer. It's not always simply about price. We deal with price, we deal with down payment levels, which are an indicator that we may be dealing with a stronger buyer that's going to help us get to the finish line that much easier and smoother and more successful. We deal with those cancellation rights, those contingencies. Maybe the top offer is great in price, but terrible in the way of contingency. If we just take the highest offer, we might not finish. So it's a great opportunity to help have the best of every world in a multiple offer situation by analyzing the price, by analyzing the contingencies, and perhaps closing timeframes as well. Are we dealing with an extraordinarily long contingency? Are we dealing with a buyer that needs to sell a property before they can purchase our property? How can we get the best of every world when we're looking at these multiple offers in the seller's shoe? Picking the highest offer and price may not be the way to go. So, a strong listing agent is going to walk you through all the terms that we might expect in the marketplace and how we can attract strong buyers to give us more of what we want from the very beginning. And there's definitely ways to do that. Then, when writing offers, the way we will sort and the way that we will compare. Nowadays, what has become more commonplace, especially for good agents, is to provide estimated closing statements to show any home seller that after a certain price and after the fees of the sale, what you will be netting and walking away. And that's how we can compare these offers and understand the stronger from the poor.
Just to clarify a little bit, aside from those economics of the closing estimates, how does the time frame affect the seller who may still be living in the property?
That is a great question. And we do deal with the home sellers that perhaps still live in the property if they have not completely vacated. Sometimes the timeframes are something we can help improve for the seller. There is the possibility for what we refer to as the seller rent back. And in certain cases, it's a fantastic way to negotiate the buyer, giving more time to the seller before their move out. So there is ways that we can close on a transaction and the seller will receive their proceeds on the day of the closing and then still remain living in the home. In a multiple offer situation, it is a little bit easier to negotiate for home sellers that need some time to transition and not move twice in their transition. It's a fantastic way to buy a lot more time. And in a multiple offer situation, prospective buyers are a lot more flexible with this sort of term. Great question, Monica. For all the home sellers out there that are stuck and feeling, how is this going to work? A strong agent is going to be helpful and instrumental in easing that transition.
Interview question number 8. Do you work full time in real estate?
Yes, this question may seem silly because one might think that every realtor must be one and the same. Every realtor probably does this as their full time job. You might be shocked to know that many agents are actually doing real estate on the side. They have a full time job that they have to show up for. So, as you can imagine, that's really going to trickle down to lost opportunities and the inability to sell for as high as possible? It's a great question to ask. And a bad agent might be very forthcoming and say, well, I do have another full time job. This is my part time job, but don't worry, I can manage it. I do real estate in the evening or on the weekends. Most buyers are looking on the weekend anyway. A good agent, clearly, this is their full time profession and they are all in, as they say. It is suggested to deal with somebody that's all in because when you're selling your home, it's about getting the most eyeballs on your home from a marketing perspective to pull them through the front door. So if you've got a really hot buyer and they need to see it on a weekday at a time that your agent can't show up, that could be the offer that would have gotten you the highest sale price. You really don't want to be dealing with somebody that's going to cause you to lose these opportunities. When you ask, are you working in real estate full time? A good agent is going to say, this is my full time profession, and I'm here and ready to help facilitate a successful sale. You want your agent to be all in.
Does that come up a lot for you, Mary, where a buyer will just call you randomly? I'm in front of the house. I want to see this right now. How often do you think that happens?
It happens all the time. My own experience, it's definitely happens all the time. We've got so many avenues to put the word out. You might deal with the buyer that's standing there in front of the house, looking at the house, saying, wow, I really like this neighborhood. Wow, I really like what I'm reading on the brochure, or the QR code might take them to the property website and they're really getting excited about it. Once they leave the scene, you may not see them again. So you'd be surprised how many of those situations you've got strong prospective buyers sitting there, and you really need to have somebody that's ready to drop everything, show up, get them through the front door, and then convert them into strong offers.
Let's move into interview question number 9. What repairs or upgrades would you recommend before listing my house?
Absolutely. I love this question because a lot of us don't really think about our homes as an instrument to leverage and grow our investment. And if you think that way, you are leaving lots of money on the table. A bad agent is probably going to respond with, oh, your house is beautiful just the way it is. Sell it in the exact condition it is in. We'll just take some photos, put it on the market, and price it appropriately, and we'll see the buyers line up. Well, certainly that is an option. Anybody has that as an option to just put a sign in front of the house, put it on the market, and sell it in the exact state it is in. A good agent is going to help review the home with you, probably seek professional inspectors to examine the property, not just cosmetically see, but the mechanics of the property to identify if there's conditions that could be a major turnoff to a prospective buyer, which would then in turn result in, as the home seller, dealing with less offers to leverage their sale. So anytime that we can alleviate a condition that would be a turnoff to a buyer will help any home sell for the maximum top dollar. And it's not always let's remodel every single square inch of the home. It doesn't have to work that way. But a good agent will typically have the ability to identify certain cosmetics. They're going to also offer suggestions for the sort of finishes that appeal to home buyers. At minimum, paint is an easy thing, but if you choose the wrong paint colors, it's wasted effort. A strong agent will show examples of how they've helped other home sellers prepare a property and the results they had. And then this good agent will probably have a crew of professional vendors, such as handyman, contractors, flooring painters, to help that process. If you're dealing with somebody that's showing you examples of what they can do and how that will help them profit, that's the sort of agent you want.
Can you give me an example that you were telling me the other day about that client you helped do those improvements and the ROI they generated?
Absolutely. Recently, we had a home seller that had original owner, owned and lived in her home for nearly 50 years, selling to get closer to family. There were several areas of the home that were in decent condition, but just dated. After we had the professional inspectors review the home, we identified some other areas that would have been a turnoff to the buyers circling that neighborhood. So stepped in and helped to replace all the flooring. This particular home had carpeting throughout many areas of the home. It was dated, it was a lot of marks to the floors. So we put in new floors. We did a new paint job to the home. We installed some new light fixtures. We brought in the repairman to fix a couple leaks. And then we had a fantastic sale. Had we not done those efforts, we would have sold at a price similar to another home that had sold in the neighborhood for 120,000 less than what we ended up selling for by putting in $20,000. It was a fantastic success story. She was so thrilled, so happy, never even dreamed to have been able to sell for as high as we did. In that situation, we didn't remodel and gut bathrooms or kitchens. We kept it pretty light to refresh the home, and that resulted in huge ROI for this particular home seller.
I'm sure she was so happy to have that extra money to spend on the grandkids. Let's move on to one of the hottest topics or best interview questions that everyone wants to know. What's your commission and what's included in that?
It's definitely a fair question. Everybody, when selling their home, understands that there's going to be some cost with the home sale. Aside from the escrow fee might charge, what the county might charge, and any taxes, you're going to be dealing with compensations. So, as we all know, post settlement, when we list property, we're only dealing with the listing agent. The buyer agent is really not a topic of conversation until we deal with the buyer's offers. This whole topic is probably another video all in itself. The bad agent is probably going to use words for, I'll do it cheap. A good agent is going to say, it's really going to depend. I need to view the property. I need to understand all the dynamics of what we're dealing with. I need to understand what marketing is going to be appropriate for this particular home to reach the mass audience. Is it going to make sense to do any preparatory work to the property? It's really not a one size fits all question. And we can really go deep on this on another video. A good agent is going to recognize these factors and the importance that these factors are going to have in the success for the sale to help you net the most. If you're hearing those sorts of responses, that's a sign you're dealing with a good agent.
I look forward to doing that video with you soon with the National Association of Realtors. A lot of regulatory changes. I will definitely have to deep dive on that.
Thank you for joining us for this week's topic, how to choose a good agent and how to avoid the bad agent. No matter how much technology shapes our industry, real estate is still a relationship driven business. Whether an agent is new or lacks experience, there's always an opportunity for growth and success. Many experienced listing agents struggle to scale their business and often seek out mentorship opportunities. What this means for you as a seller is that in many cases, you can hire both a seasoned pro and a newer agent at no extra cost. The experienced agent gets built in support, while the newer agent gains valuable job experiences. You will be getting two dedicated professionals working together to sell your home at the price and the terms that you want. It's a win win for everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Make sure you tune in next week for our video about good versus bad buyer's agents and what 10 interview questions will fit them. I will put the questions for this video in the comments below, and we look forward to seeing you soon.